All right, let's get started. It is February 4th, 2025. The time is 5:30 p.m. This is the City of Durango City Council regular meeting. Item 1, call to order and roll call, please.
Mayor Buell,
Here.
Councilor Youssef,
Here.
Councilor Bosman's,
Present.
Councilor Woodruff,
Here.
and Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Here.
Next up, item 1.1, reading of the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. This is a call to honor and respect Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination. As residents and visitors of Durango, we are called upon to educate ourselves about the history and cultural heritage of the land we inhabit. The city of Durango is situated on the ancestral homelands and territories of the Nuchu, Ute, Jicarilla Apache, Pueblos of New Mexico, Hopi Sinom, Hopi, and Dene Navajo nations. The original stewards of this land were forcibly removed and exposed to countless atrocities by the United States government, including repeatedly broken treaties, forced assimilation, the tragic legacy of Indian boarding schools, and the loss of ancestral homelands. We recognize lasting generational trauma exists within Native communities today. We affirm the continuing importance of ancestral sites to descendant communities as integral to the living cultural landscape. This acknowledgement only becomes meaningful when combined with accountable relationships and informed actions. May this serve as a step towards inclusion and reconciliation. Thank you. Item 2, introduction of the translator.
Liz, you've been unmuted if you want to unmute your mic on your side.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Torres, and I am here with my colleague, B. Torres. We're here from the Community Language Co-op, and we are here to interpret simultaneously today. Thank you so much for your commitment to language justice, and this means that everyone has the right to speak and be heard in the language of our heart. I do ask you to please remember to speak at a conversational pace so that we're able to provide an accurate rendition of your message. On the top of your screen, you will see the More menu, which is the 3 little dots, and it'll say Language and Speech, and you can access English or Spanish as your interpretation language. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Liz Torres y estoy aquí con mi colega B. Torres y estamos aquí con la Cooperativa Comunitaria de Lenguaje. Gracias por expresar el día de hoy la justicia del lenguaje, que significa que todos tenemos derecho a hablar y ser escuchados en el idioma de nuestro corazón. Para que usted pueda tener acceso al menú de interpretación, puede presionar los 3 puntitos en la parte superior de su pantalla que dice More. De ahí debe seleccionar lenguaje y luego de ahí puedes seleccionar inglés o español. Muchas gracias. Okay, we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Liz. We're going to give them a few seconds to get it turned on. All right. Item 3, opening remarks by Mayor and Council. Does anyone have any opening remarks tonight? Great. Presentations and proclamations. Item 4.1, Soil Outdoor Learning Lab 2024 Annual Report.
Hello. Is it okay if I leave some business cards and annual reports up here for people to grab after?
Of course.
Anybody who wants to.
Yes. Thank you.
There's enough for everybody in the room, I think. Okay. My name is Charlie Love. I'm the Soil Outdoor Learning Lab Specialist with Durango School District 9R. Thanks so much for having me here today to share some updates and some information about the Soil Outdoor Learning Lab project. Let's see. So with the presentation today, I'd like to just give a quick overview of this project, a little bit about the history, about our partnership with Durango Parks and Recreation, some updates on what's been happening since I presented to this council in October of 23, a little over a year ago, and some next steps. And they're all numbered 1, so they're all super important, yeah. So I wanted to just start with the mission here to ground us and maybe have you notice some intersections and supports between this mission statement and the cities and particularly Parks and Recreation's mission statements. So the mission, Soil's mission is to cultivate a public growing and gathering space rooted in community engagement, educational and economic opportunity, multi-generational collaboration, cultural and ecological stewardship, and healthy living practices. So going back a few years, really the Soil project began with the Ohana Kuleana Community Garden, and it was really a magical place. It opened up in 2012 and provided the only community garden space for members of the Durango community. My involvement there was as a teacher at Riverview Elementary School. I took over 1,000 students for science investigations, lessons, research projects over the course of 10 years. In addition to that, it was a place where community members grew food, congregated, had parties and events, community education opportunities. As a result of taking students to that garden for 10 years, the group of students who started as kindergartners when that garden opened in 2012 scored in the 98th percentile on Colorado standardized testing for science. And so that's a pretty huge achievement. There's a lot of other benefits and impacts that I consider to be much more important. So when the garden was scheduled to be closed and the property was put on the market, the real estate market in 2021, a lot of people were disappointed, if not flat out devastated. We saw that here when the room filled up with people presenting on the topic. Initially, there was a call to action for the city to purchase the property and steward that facility, that land and the garden that had previously been run as a volunteer program. And then the demands for city to invest, or demands strong, but the call for the city to invest in community garden was further fueled by the Parks Open Space Trail and Recreation Master Plan in 2020. And that came out kind of right at the time that garden was shutting down. Based on community surveys and a vetted public process of input, the community ranked community gardens as the 4th top priority for investment for recreational facilities and the 10th most important recreational program to households. And that was at a time when the city wasn't investing in community garden, didn't have to. There was a great community garden. It was run by a nonprofit and then a business landowner and then a community group. So although there was a lot of demand for that, there just wasn't an area the city had really gotten involved in. So once that garden closed, there was some process, mostly with Parks and Recreation, kind of analyzing what could be done, how could we meet this need. The idea of buying that property didn't get much traction. So we spent months looking at all the different city-owned properties, parks and such throughout Durango. And after a few months of that, I presented the idea of building a community garden on school district property. And that did get traction pretty well. Before I advance from this slide, though, I have community gardens circled as number 4, and then number 5 is community amphitheaters. And I'm just pointing that out because we are going to build an outdoor amphitheater for the community at the Soil Lab this summer. So we're hitting 2 birds with 1 stone here. Let's see. So basically, with the idea of, let's talk about doing this on school district property, that launched us into a community engaged design process where we had not only school district leadership, tons of students from 9R, we had community and business leaders, Parks and Recreation at the table, local experts, all kind of contributing their perspective. And what resulted was a 6-phase concept that that we've kind of held to. It's evolved a little bit, but we're basically on stage phase 3 of this, and we'll talk about that. So let's see. So that community garden is phase 1, and that was built within pretty quickly. We didn't miss a single growing season from the time the Ohana Kuleana Garden closed. Within the following growing season, we had a community garden open up by Riverview. And if anybody hasn't been up there, I'd encourage you to come by. I'm there all the time. We have an office there, and we're working, and we love to have visitors and show off all the new stuff that's happening. So pop by there sometime. And let's see. So kind of looking at the funding, there's a misconception of like, oh, it's the school district spending a ton of money or the city spending a ton of money. It was actually individual donors primarily who funded the capital construction, along with some significant business sponsorships. The city of Durango did contribute $25,000 for capital improvement, and then we also received a $20,000 grant. And then Scott here is going to get into some of the operational expenses in a couple slides. One thing I would point out, though, is it's like a 1 to 20 investment of like city dollars to community investment. So I like to point that out, that the community is behind this. So with that, Scott McLean, Assistant Parks Director, we'll talk about the operations.
Good evening. Just real quick, Charlie did a great job on background history of the city's involvement. As Charlie shared, the Parks and Rec master plan showed the need, the prioritization for community gardens. We also had a lot of community support, especially at the time when the OK Gardens were transitioning. We currently partner on the operations that we split cost. There's a staff person out there, the garden manager, and we share that 50-50 with the school district, her salary, and then are involved with some of the facility as far as providing a porta pot for the site during the summer months. The administration for there's 50 garden plots that are open to the community. Those are administered, managed through the rec center staff. So if you wanted to reserve a plot, you would call or get on the internet and reserve a plot through them. We collect those funds and then work that out with the garden manager. So those funds come out of the Parks General Fund, operating cost. That's about 35,000, just a little over 35,000 a year at this point. So, and with that,
There. Thanks. Yep. Thanks, Scott. And it's just an awesome collaboration. And again, I just want to say thanks to the city for making this collaboration possible. And I'm excited to announce that we have a new garden manager starting next week. Brooke Minich is her name. She has awesome experience and background, so she'll bring a lot of value to the garden and the whole project. And I look forward to you guys getting to meet her at some point. But I feel like none of this would be possible if it wasn't the school district and the city working together, and that's just a really cool, unique thing. So I also want to have Dr. Karen Chesser come up, Superintendent for Durango School District, and I'll say without reservation, soil's biggest champion. I haven't heard of any other school district or community that has anything like soil, and we owe a lot of that to Dr. Chesser for seeing and facilitating the vision from the first day we talked about it. So I'm just putting up, this is a portion of our annual report from 2024, and have Dr. Chesser talk about the project.
Thanks. Well, I've said this from the beginning. A superintendent's greatest dream is to have a teacher like Charlie, who is so innovative and works like crazy and could imagine something that could be this fantastic for kids. And I think this started in about like October of 2021, this vision. And so my job is just to help make sure that it can happen. And I just want to thank all of you for investing in our community and our kids and our future, because that's really what the Soil Lab is helping educate our children. It's multi-generational. As you know, there are 50 community beds that are there, but what happens is our community members grow in those beds, and then our kids see that and they talk with them and they learn from them. We also have historical gardening going on there, composting, sustainability demonstrations, tons of workshops. You probably maybe have been at a community event where there's music and people are learning at the same time and eating food that's being cooked there. And so I just want to, first of all, applaud you all for partnering with us, and then also our entire community, because nothing like this is happening around the country. In fact, Charlie's been on the road a little bit presenting at different conferences, such as the North American Association for Environmental Education, because we were spreading the word around the country about this type of partnership. But I'm here really just to kind of highlight a few things that have happened you may not know. There have been over 2,500 students taking field trips there. We are also open to the region. We did get a grant for the Grow Dome that makes it available also to other students. We've had almost 400 students from FLC come down and intern and work with students, and also tons of really big service projects. In fact, FLC has done, I forget what they call it, the Excelsior project or something, where students are imagining big service learning projects and they're doing theirs there. We've had, there are 7 free community workshops that have already either occurred or happening. There have been 47 volunteers who have logged over 225 hours making this happen. And almost 500 pounds of produce has been donated to our community through Manna and through our Families in Need. So the Grow Dome, if you haven't been up there yet, it's kind of the 2nd/3rd phase. And it was the dream of many of the donors, the community founders for soil, that it be available all year round. And this way, kids can actually come out and they can see aquaponics and hydroponics, and we even have fig trees growing in there, and learning how students, their agrovoltaic demonstrations, and really helping our students understand about sustainability. So that's open and happening now. And then the Soil Hub, which I am sure Charlie's going to talk about, which is, again, that community hub place where we can have lots of demonstrations and events, and just community gatherings. And so, again, I would never have believed almost 4 years ago when we first started talking with our community and talking with you about this, that we could actually make this happen. But the school district is committed to continuing to fund all of the operations and our project manager and all the things that we need to make it a success. And thank you.
Thank you, Karen. So yeah, that was just a good little foreshadow there. As Karen mentioned, we have just wrapped up construction on phase 2, the Grow Dome. And besides allowing for year-round opportunities for student field trips, we will also have community programming and public events and public access there as well. So you can come get some, humidity, and if it gets cold, we can warm up in there. But for both students and community members, I'm really excited about opportunities for innovative techniques, technologies, research that wouldn't happen in a normal garden because of some of the technology we have in there and some of the more innovative equipment and things. So I would just say come see it, and it's pretty cool. Even just in the last few months of building the dome, we had hundreds of students who were there on field trips, designing experiments, building models, sharing ideas for what they thought would make it a good facility. So we've incorporated a lot of those into the design. And so kind of the way Soil's always been, we're always engaging with community members and students, even in the design process. We are going to plan on having a grand opening. It's tentative still, but we're hoping April 24th. It's a Thursday evening. Have a big party basically and invite everybody for a few hours, have food and entertainment and stuff, and just a chance to come in and enjoy the dome. That would be like a drop-in. And then this is the last slide before the conclusion, and that's about the hub, which is what we're working on right now. Finally finishing up the fundraising for that, and we plan on doing most of the construction this year. This is the phase I'm actually the most excited about personally. It's going to be the most publicly accessible, and really for me, this whole thing is about bringing people together and building community. And so I think this one's going to impact the most people the most often. And it's going to feature interactive, hands-on, and interconnected education stations for people of all ages. And all of that will be focused around 4 pillars of sustainability: environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, social sustainability, and cultural sustainability. And finding the intersection of all 4 of those pillars and building a more sustainable community. In closing, I just want to once again thank the city and Parks and Rec for collaborating to make this innovative project a reality in Durango. I hear it all the time. People say that the Soil project should be a model for other school districts, municipalities, and communities. And I agree with that. And I look forward to continuing to work with the city to expand the model and grow an inspired community here in Durango. And that's our tagline: grow an inspired community.
Well, thank you, Mr. Love. I still have a photo of Sawyer in your community garden when he was, I don't even know, first grade or something in your science class in the
I think there
OK
might be one on the website.
garden. Yeah.
Like, you go through all.
Yeah, he's
one of
now.
your kids is in there.
Yeah,
Sure.
or Connor, well, who's senior and junior in high school right now. So
Yeah.
that was a long time ago. But thank you for all you do. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Great presentation, super exciting. Hopefully I can make it to the grand opening, and I can't wait for the hub. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
if not, just come by anytime here in the neighborhood. We have an office, knock on the door.
excellent. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. All right, next up, item 5, city manager updates.
No updates.
Excellent. Item 6, committee, board, and liaison reports. What has everyone been up to? Councilor Woodruff, who goes first, has nothing.
I finally, for once, I
Okay.
don't have anything to contribute.
Okay. Anyone else?
Okay, so since the last time we met, on Tuesday, January 28th, I had an individual meeting with a resident who just wanted to talk about general things in Durango. And I thought that was really great because they're reaching out to learn about what we do here at the city. And then I also attended on January 28th that evening, the Engage Durango Forum, and I had the opportunity to hear Mike French give a very wonderful presentation about our housing projects in Durango. And at that same meeting, I had the opportunity to meet 4 other new residents who were interested in his presentation about the housing in Durango. So I thought that was real eventful. And then the next day, Tuesday the 28th, I went to the FAB meeting here in City Hall and listened to what the FAB group had on their agenda and what they were discussing. That's about it.
I had office hours just after our last meeting, talked to a couple residents about the 2005 half-cent sales tax reauth, and another couple residents about various other issues, including some issues around the post office. So it was very interesting. Yeah.
I had a meeting with Region 9 on January 30th, and we covered the finances and the loans and economic development. And one interesting presentation that I wanted to highlight was Mountain Studies Institute, who presented a recreation use study, and they did it literary review, data collection, geospatial analysis, with the goal to create a map resource for land managers and planners to improve the outdoor recreation economy and preserve natural resources. I thought it was very interesting. So if you have a chance to look at that, I would certainly do so.
Okay, I went to the Colorado Association of Ski Towns Conference, which was in Breckenridge last week. A lot of great topics. One on housing, which was interesting. It was under the legislative update. There's a push going on called YIGBY right now, and it's saying they're going to push for any school, church, to be able to build like 4-story housing on any piece of property they own statewide. And so there's a lot of pushback, obviously, from CAST because that doesn't really fit within our land use development codes and stuff. And so just be on the lookout for that legislation coming potentially out. They talked about ski area partnerships, which was interesting. A lot of transit partnerships. Now, our ski area is a little different than some of these, but you know, a lot of transit cooperations. I mean, there was one obviously that paid for like a whole parking garage in town, but we're a little different again, but maybe just some partnerships there. Partnerships with let's see, what else? Transit, parking garage, childcare partnerships to help the town with meeting childcare needs. They talked about a lot of collaborative events that they've done. It was interesting. As they were talking about partnerships, it made me think about different partnerships that we have. And one of the ski area leaders said, even if we don't agree, we just always keep talking and it'll work through it and get through it. And so I thought that was a great piece of advice, like always just keep talking. Mental health collaboration, which I thought was interesting. And then, yeah, I don't know, there's other topics, but that was that. Yesterday, I had my mayor walk and roll over in the Park Elementary neighborhood. Like I said earlier, Sarah Hill joined me for that, which was great because we were able to talk about the 8th Ave College traffic calming project that we have coming up, potentially getting a recommendation from FAB on that in next meeting or the month after, or the meeting after that. And then I also had council office hours yesterday. I had 2 people come in and talk to me about sustainability goals and where we were on track with our sustainability goals that we set for ourselves for 2030, which is only 5 years away, and 2050, and then some potential funding sources to help fund sustainability a little bit better and help us achieve those goals. They'll be reaching out to council to share their opinions too, and then maybe Marty and staff as well. So, and then we talked about Smart 160, talked about the 2005 reauth, lots of conversations. Okay, I think that's it. All right, next up we have public comment on action items only. Can I get a reading of the rules?
Public comment is encouraged on agenda items set for consideration and a vote by the council tonight. Public comments on items not set for consideration by the council come later in the meeting. Please begin your comments by stating the agenda item set for a vote you intend to speak on, your full name, and if you are a resident of the city of Durango. Make your comments directly to the council. Do not expect a response from the council or staff. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, unless modified by the council. Unused time is not transferable to other speakers. Comments must be specific to the item you identified when you began your comments. Profanity, hate speech, personally derogatory remarks, speech unrelated to the item you identified, or other speech that is disruptive to the meeting will be ruled out of order by the chair, and any remaining time will be forfeited by the speaker. Exceeding the time limit infringes on the rights of others and is out of order. Only a majority vote of the council can modify time limits. Please note, you must sign up prior to the mayor calling the item on the agenda. Signing up after the item is called will result in your name not being called to speak.
All right, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
2 people have signed up, but they're on non-agenda items for later in the meeting.
Okay, great. Next up, we have our consent agenda. Can I get a reading of the consent agenda, please?
8.1 is approval of minutes. That's approval of minutes of the January 22nd, 2025 City Council regular meeting. 8.2 is final reading of ordinances, with 8.2.1 being a final reading of ordinance 0/2025-09 for an easement for La Plata Electric Association to provide lighting to the Animas River Trail. 8.3 is adoption of resolutions by the consent. 8.3.1 is a resolution regarding the acceptance of an annexation petition from AUS Enterprises LLC for the Durango Motor Company annexation out on Highway 16550. 8.3.2 is a resolution approving the appointment of Ronald Brett Hodney as Public Works Director. 8.4 is approval of other administrative items. That's approval of a beer and wine license for Karen Roberts, doing business as Picasso and Vino, located at 835 Main Avenue, Unit 214. 8.5 is request for public hearings, with 8.5.1 being a request for a public hearing for the Durango Motor Company annexation and initial zoning to 25-855 and 25-871 South US Highway 16550 to be held on March 11th. 8.5.2 is a request for a public hearing regarding the designation of 201 East 12th Street, the historic high school, as a historic landmark to be held on February 19th, 2025. 8.6 is introduction of ordinances with 4 items. 8.6.1, an ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance 0/1992-29 and ordinance 0/1998-1 for the purposes of amending the composition of the Board of Directors of the Firefighters Old Hire Pension Plan and declaring an effective date. 8.6.2 is an ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance 0/1990-19, ordinance 0/1994-24, and ordinance 0/1998-2 for the purposes of amending the composition of the Board of Directors of the Police Officers Old Hire Pension Plan and declaring an effective date. 8.6.3 is introduction of an ordinance for the Durango Motor Company annexation and initial zoning at that same address. 8.6.4 is introduction of an ordinance regarding the designation of 201 East 12th Street, the historic high school, as a historic landmark. And the last item is 8.7, a request for an excused absence from Councilor Youssef to be excused from the February 19th regular City Council meeting.
Thank you. Does anyone want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Councilor Youssef?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie? Councilor Woodruff?
Yes.
Mayor Buell?
Yes.
Councilor Bosman's.
Yes.
All right, there's nothing under 9. No items were pulled from the consent agenda. No public hearings under item 10. Item 11, resolutions. 11.1, consideration of a resolution regarding the Lightner Creek Commons Conceptual Development Plan, 271 Twin Buttes Avenue.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Leanne Bernstein. I'm a planner with Community Development. Let's see here. Is this? Okay, great. So the application in front of you this evening is a conceptual development plan for the Lightner Creek Commons project. The conceptual development plan is the first step in a plan development, which allows for specific development standards for a subdivision through zoning. The purpose of this step is a high-level review of the density and the general layout of the project, an opportunity to discuss potential impacts and potential mitigations for that before the applicant moves on to the preliminary plan, which involves much more investment from the applicant. So this evening, council should consider the proposed development, the recommendation made from the Community Development Commission, and consider making a final decision tonight. So getting into the project a little bit, the location is at 271 Twin Buttes Avenue off of West Highway 160. The site is around 3 acres. A little bit of background onto this project. This is the product of a partnership between Twin Buttes of Durango and the city of Durango. Twin Buttes donated this parcel to the city. This is part of how they're satisfying their requirements for affordable housing through their current development agreement. The city issued a request for proposals for the development of affordable housing on this site, and Elevation Community Land Trust was awarded that project. And then Elevation Community Land Trust has partnered with Tributary Development to submit this application that you see in front of you. The project will create 29 townhomes made with modular construction that will be sold to qualified households, earning 80 to 120% of the area median income. And then Elevation Community Land Trust will retain ownership of the land while the units are sold. So a little bit about the proposal, and I think the next slide, which shows the site plan, describes this a little bit better, but it includes, again, the townhome locations, common spaces, parking, and amenities that will be maintained by an HOA. Lightner Creek Trail will be constructed along the south side of the development. These images are a couple examples that were submitted along with the application. And onto process. So the Community Development Commission reviewed this application during their regular meeting in December. They unanimously recommended approval with conditions that were listed in the staff report. If it's approved by council this evening, the applicant will move forward to their preliminary plan, and there will be additional opportunities for public comments during the preliminary plan with both the Community Development Commission and then with you all, City Council. This application does support goals within the comprehensive plan, as well as the innovative housing and economic development goals within the strategic plan. We have not received any public comments so far. The review criteria for conceptual development plans are listed in the Land Use Development Code, and it's found that this proposal does comply with those standards. Again, as mentioned, the Community Development Commission unanimously recommended approval with the conditions listed in the staff report. So it is recommended that council consider this application this evening and consider approving the conceptual development plan by resolution. Tributary Development is, I believe, online. They are technically submitted the application. They're available for questions, as am I.
Thank you for the presentation, Leanne. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve by resolution the proposed Lightner Creek Commons conceptual development plan with the conditions listed in the staff report and as may be adopted at the public hearing.
I'll second.
Great. Council discussion.
I have a couple of questions, if I may. Thank you for that presentation. I appreciate it. I think we all agree that we need more affordable housing, so that's positive. I was wondering on the, so this is going pretty far in detail, this conceptual plan, and I understand these are modular built homes, and I believe we specifically changed the land use and development codes about a year ago. I don't see Scott here, but about a year ago to allow that use in this area for modular homes. So it all follows that pathway. And then it says 80 to 120% AMI. So my questions are a little bit further down the line, but I would like to see what it is before I make up my mind, I guess. The land stays where the city is going to donate the land to the developer once certain conditions are met. So these people that qualify to buy the actual building, not the land, would they have to pay rent, land lease, or anything for that?
My understanding is that they purchase the unit, so that they own it, and then they would pay an HOA fee to Elevation Community Land Trust as they would manage the site. I am not sure if there's rent on the property, but I could bring that up. I don't believe that there is. I haven't seen anything, but I can.
Well, the reason I think it's important is because we're trying to do affordable housing and then the deed restricted housing. But if there is no control over what the land owner, the developer in this case, can do with leasing the land, they can basically really increase the AMI that is targeted with this to well above it. And the same for the homeowners association. I think it's going to be separate. I assume it's going to be separate, a separate charge to anybody who buys those units. That they pay rent for the property, the land, and then have to pay a fee for the homeowners association. So I personally really would like to understand what prevents the future homeowners from being in a very dire situation, especially since this conceptual plan is going to lead the city to donate land. So is there any way we can get that information? You obviously don't know, and it's probably not has it been discussed at all?
So it has been discussed, and I can probably address it to a high level. So yes, the city and Elevation Community Land Trust will enter into an agreement, which will ultimately result in the city transferring that property. But the agreement will outline the conditions in which that transfer happens, and I believe that would run in perpetuity with the land. And so that would specify specifically the target owners that we're looking at, and Elevation Community Land Trust would be held to that. There would be a provision for essentially non-performance if they don't do the project as agreed, or if they don't hold to their side of things. I believe that's how it will be handled. As this project progresses into the preliminary plan, these agreements will be drafted and then executed as we move on in that process.
Thank you.
Does that help?
And in the packet, it says that the HOA fees include the land, monthly land, and it's around $100.
Oh.
It's in the documents. So yeah, of course. Yeah. And they are the ones that also bought the West Side Mobile Home Park and we annexed that so that way they could keep it affordable and cost effective. So I think that it's a good, yeah, anyways. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
Okay. Okay, so this development occurred because Twin Buttes Development had to fulfill their affordable housing package. And so the city's donating the land to Twin Buttes Development, who's giving it to land. What's the name of that corporation? Land Management? The
Elevation Community.
Elevation Community. What's the relationship between Elevation Community and Twin Buttes Development?
So a little bit turned around. So the property was owned by Twin Buttes, and Twin Buttes transferred it to the city. So they donated it to the city as their, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Can I get a vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Councillor Woodruff,
Yes.
Councillor Youssef,
Yes.
Councillor Bosman's,
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes. Next item 12, first consideration of ordinances. Item 12.1, first consideration of an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 3-19, Takeout and Delivery Permits. Mr. Morgan.
Law changes.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Oh, yeah, can I say so moved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to read it out loud.
I read it, so you can
Oh.
say so moved.
Second.
Great. Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Councillor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Beal,
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Councillor Youssef,
Yes.
and Councillor Bosman's.
Yes.
Item 13. All right. Item 13, public comment on city matters not scheduled for a vote tonight. Now hit play.
Wrong video, Tom. Wrong video.
What you get for cutting me off. Great.
We have two people signed up tonight, Mayor. The first is Julia Conley.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor and City Councilors. My name is Julia Conley, and I'm a resident of Durango. I saw that Councilor Olivier Boasmans 2 weeks ago made a motion to place an item regarding the current homeless population, and the motion failed for a lack of a second. I was both surprised and saddened to see this. With the change in administration and the real threat to cuts in programs like SNAP and Medicaid, we should be preparing actually for an increase in homelessness in this town. Criminalization will only continue to fight the visibility of houselessness and not actually solve the growing problem. Our community shelter is a step in the right direction with its barriers, make it an inadequate solution for so many. There are very few family rooms, only service animals are allowed, and the curfew makes it impossible for folks who have night jobs. Also, daily breathalyzers exclude people who, like many of us, are just trying to take the edge off. The warming center is also not a solution. For one, I doubt there'll be many nights below 15 degrees this year, and I don't know if any of you all volunteered, but personally, telling somebody they can't even sit on the ground to pet their dog felt extremely dehumanizing and lacking any compassion. As long as we don't have enough shelter beds or affordable housing programs, we'll continue to see camps around town, and we can continue to try to hide them. But the reality remains that these encampments are symptoms of our broken system. People without homes here in town are being ticketed, threatened, and punished, and are not given any real alternatives of where else to go. And this only makes the situation worse. And as you all know, it costs a ton of money to clean up camp after camp, costs MANA a ton of money to continue to give out gear over and over again. And it costs more of my time as a street outreach worker to try to find the folks I've been working with as they get pushed further and further. Suggestions. Housing first. I know that I can't even begin to understand how to fund more affordable housing things, and it's great to hear that it's being talked about tonight, but that's kind of a huge solution to people who are unhoused, is giving them housing. And then secondly is like basic sanitation at the camps that we do have. Porta potties and dumpsters that are emptied regularly. We don't want more and more bear activity and mountain lion activity with these folks. And also, like, everyone deserves like safe and sanitized spaces. And then third, we need a better camp sweep protocol. Giving folks tickets that don't have any money already is not helpful, but having like a 15-day protocol where you're collaborating with service providers and guaranteeing that they're there could be a much more humane solution. We have to do better and prioritize compassion over criminalization. The solution isn't hiding people, it's helping people. Thanks.
Thank you.
And there actually are two other people. The next one is Shailene Broussard.
Hi. My name is Shailene Broussard. I am a board member of the LEAB, and not only that, I am an advocate for the homeless. I am also a part of the community, or a part of their community. I've been a lifelong member of Durango, and I would just like to ask the council to reconsider their dismissal of the motion on addressing the homeless situation here in the city of Durango. Julia said it very well, but and I do understand, I want to come at a different angle. I understand the community's concerns with helping the homeless. We do not want another Purple Cliffs. I absolutely agree. That is not what we want at all. But something needs to be done. Something has to be done, and something can be done. For all of these people living on the streets of Durango that can't get housing for one reason or another, can we please stop putting off finding a solution for the people? After all, isn't it your mission to provide outstanding services and experience for the entire community? There's nothing outstanding with experiencing the back burner. Just because a person is homeless doesn't make them any less a part of our community, nor should it make them any less of a priority to the rest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last person signed up is Antonio Espinoza.
Okay, thank you. That's it?
That's it.
And no one online? Okay, thank you. All right, item 14, other new business. 14.1, an ordinance requiring a counselor notify council and the public if they seek a variance or apply for public funds for a property they own or have ownership interest in. Councilor Youssef.
Yes, so I would like to move to have staff introduce an ordinance doing just that, requiring a counselor notify council and the public if they will seek a variance or apply for public funds for a property they own or have ownership interest in.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll second. Oh, that's it. Okay, great. Any opening remarks? This is just to get it on the agenda to vote on. Basic remarks. Okay, can I get a vote?
Councilor Bosmans,
Yes.
Councilor Youssef,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
and Councilor Woodruff.
Yes.
And okay.
So what'll happen is now that there's been a successful vote, this will come back as an ordinance for introduction at the next meeting, and then it'll be up for first consideration at the meeting after that. Because of the nature of the motion, it's going to look different when it comes back, because what I'll do is I'll incorporate it into the part of the code where it actually fits the best. I've worked in jurisdictions where ordinances pass in a form like this, and then they're not incorporated into the code, and then they're impossible to find, and they don't make sense out on their own. So when it comes back for first for introduction, it will look different, but the subject matter will be exactly the same, and I will include the language that was passed here tonight. It'll just have a code article number assigned to it. It'll look something like an amendment to chapter whatever, section whatever, adding this to it. So when it comes back, it'll look different, but that's why.
Okay, great. Did I do a vote? Yes, I already did a vote. Okay, great. Just making sure. Item 14.2, provide direction to the city manager and staff to provide an update and presentation to city council on minimum wage. Councilor Bosmans.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to provide direction to the city manager and staff to provide an update and presentation to city council on minimum wage and how similar communities as Durango have implemented minimum wage requirements and the impacts. And for the city manager and city attorney to generate and introduce an ordinance to increase the minimum wage in our jurisdiction to 17.03 per hour, both to be presented and provided during the February 18th regular city council meeting.
Councilor Bosmans, can I offer an amendment to your motion? I would like, I am all about having a study session where it's information only. We're gathering information. I think we're putting the cart in front of the horse by by introducing an ordinance. And so I would like to amend the motion to omit and introduce an ordinance to increase the minimum wage and from then on.
So if another member offers an amendment to a motion that you have brought forward, you can either accept it or reject it.
I'll reject it.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion fails.
Can I offer a substitute motion?
So yeah, before there's a vote, so you've timely done that. If you want, you can offer a substitute motion.
I move to provide direction to the city manager and staff to provide an update and presentation to city council on minimum wage and how similar communities as Durango have implemented minimum wage requirements and the impacts for the city manager and city attorney to generate. And then, no, that's it. Sorry. Could we please get a study session going over the potential impacts and benefits for a potential minimum wage increase?
So that's the substitute motion requires a second.
Yes, I'll second. Discussion, light, just general to get it on the next. This has to just go on the next one to approve.
This is just a vote to move it forward to a full vote for consideration.
Okay, this doesn't actually make him do the study session next week.
Right.
Correct, as I understand the process.
Making sure, okay, just making sure.
If I may.
Yes.
Just some clarification, because if it is going to be a study session, and it won't be the next study session, it would mean that would be the next study session would be April.
I mean, I would say the study session that makes the most sense to gather all the people you need, whether that's the group that presented to, or that came last session, BID, Chamber of Commerce, to like get us information.
That's the reason I was going to ask, because if we're going to push it farther, it may be necessary. I'm just going to say it may be a presentation that a new council is going to be hearing, not this council with taking the time. So just wanted to clarify that to make sure that it might be understood that while this may pass, it may actually be a different council hearing this study session topic.
Okay.
It's your motion.
Yeah, I just feel like, again, we're putting the cart in front of the horse by actually introducing an ordinance, but I am open to the idea of looking more into it and see what potential impacts there are, and what other potential benefits could be. So.
Okay, any other discussion, light discussion? Can I get a vote?
Just to confirm, then this is for in April and May?
But an April study session would be this council. A May study session would be the new council.
I would.
So looking kind of really, it's a good point, Faye. I mean, it's kind of what I was just saying is like, which one would you want to have it in? March would be soon, April or May would be up to this council.
I think there's going to be a lot of information to gather without going too far into tariffs and what potential impacts could be to small businesses. I think, having more time to look at this and how a 30,000 foot view of potential impacts to our small business community could be, I think it's probably better to have that possibly in May.
Yeah,
okay.
New council.
There's still limited discussion.
Yeah.
I think for three councils of which two or one definitely is not long on this council, and then two that might not be on this council, it serves no purpose, and that's why I think would have been nice to have it on the agenda. But to me, that serves no. I'm voting on something that's not relevant for me anymore as a councillor.
Can you clarify, like, what is not relevant?
For me as a councillor to provide direction or set policy, this study session will not help.
But it's in May and it's to benefit our community potentially. That's what we're here for, not ourselves.
No,
we're here for our community.
I understand what you're saying, but why would I vote on it if I cannot follow through on it?
Well, because why vote on anything then?
Sorry,
never mind.
I feel like
it's okay. It's all good.
All right, can I get a vote?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
No.
Councilor Youssef,
No.
Councilor Woodruff,
yes.
Councilor Bosmans,
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes. All right. Executives, any other new business items that we want to put on for the next? No, okay. Item 15, executive session. 15.1, a motion to convene an executive session to receive legal advice on a specific legal questions pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024B concerning La Plata County District Court Case 2025 CV 30006, specifically City of Durango v. Sheriff Sean Smith and La Plata County District Court Case 2025 CV 30008, specifically City of Durango v. La Plata Board of County Commissioners. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Counselor Bassman's,
Yes.
Mayor Beal,
Yes?
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
The time is now 7:20 p.m. and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Jose Madrigal, Melissa Youssef, Gil Diazzi, myself, Dave Woodruff, I almost forgot your name, Olivier Bosmans, Mark Morgan, Bryce Current, and Bob Rammer. That's it. Yes. For the record, council met in executive session to receive legal advice on specific legal questions pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024B concerning La Plata County District Court Case 2025 CV 30006, specifically City of Durango v. Sheriff Sean Smith, and La Plata County District Court Case 2025 CV 30008, specifically City of Durango v. La Plata Board of County Commissioners. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, I'm going to make a motion to direct the city attorney to dismiss La Plata County District Court Case 2025 CV 3006, specifically City of Durango v. Sheriff Sean Smith, and La Plata County District Court Case 2025 CV 30008, specifically City of Durango v. La Plata Board of County Commissioners, under the terms discussed in executive session, and direct the city manager to begin operations of our own holding cells and bring back to the city council a modified 911 agreement that accurately compensates us for our services.
I will second.
Council discussion.
Yeah, I'm going to make a couple of statements here. First of all, I will support the motion because I think we should never have started that litigation. People state that here we go again, pick another fight, and then we lose, and then backtrack with our tail between them, which is something we shouldn't have done. These are people, this is our community, people we know, kids we know, everybody knows someone somewhere. And that's not the way to treat people. So I think it's not only a waste of money, it's also caused unnecessary friction. And then the solution that is proposed is equally not a long-term solution. It is a little patch in the hope that time passes and people start working together again. We should have never gotten to this point. And then another point I will make, since I have 5 minutes, is that, and I'm going to leave a lot of this to the city attorney to explain, but this recording was not, this meeting was not recorded. And I think a lot of things, there was a lot more spoken than should have been spoken, that should have been recorded. Besides the city attorney's legal advice. And I think maybe I'll leave it at that because I probably will in the crosshairs if I say too much. But I'm very unhappy about the situation we have created and find ourselves in, and the money we've spent trying to backtrack.
I would argue that we didn't do anything wrong. We were just trying to protect our cities and our community's best interests. And I think our city attorney was following our direction. I think they did the best job to their ability, and the cards are where they are, and we're just making a move based upon some of those things. And I would also argue that everything in the study or in the executive session was under the scope and purview of legal advice, and we were under full legal status under the law about what we could discuss.
I think it's unfortunate that you weren't a part of some of those meetings that I had with the county and that Dave was a part of, because I think you'd have a very different tone. It's unfortunate that at every juncture you try to create this like friction and there's never a moment where we're a team for our community with you. And that's what's super unfortunate. CML is spearheading policy that's going to deal with this. And so why would we take on this policy if CML at a bigger level with bigger resources can handle things like this and hopefully get to a resolution? That's all I wanted. From day one, talking with the county, working towards a resolution to find a way we could work together. Their attorney turned around 3 days after a meeting and reneged on everything. That is not us not wanting to work together. That is her and the county commissioners not wanting to work together. And I'm not going to sit here and beg and try and waste more money when you have bigger policymakers that are going to make these decisions. I hope one day you see the value in being a part of this team and you see the value in wanting to do good things for our community and not just be some constant naysayer that's twisting truths to try to create some narrative that's untrue. Everything out of your mouth is untrue, Councillor Bosmans. You were not a part of any of those meetings. And it is sad that you have to twist these stories to make yourself look better in a few citizens' eyes. So unfortunate. I do hope that someday we can come to common ground with the county and they can want to work together with us on doing what's best for our constituents. We are part of the county. These community members are part of their community as well. And so I hope one day that their city attorney comes to the table with an agreement that is fair, that is equitable, that is like other agreements that they have with other entities, because what we were given and what we were told is completely different and not the same. And that is not okay. Any other discussion items?
Well, I am in full agreement with what Dave and Jessica said. At some time, I do think that we have to reconsider our relationship with the county, because if you look at just when I was on city council, they pull out of like the Florida Road 250 reconstruction. They pull out of Durango Mesa. They basically did away with the intergovernmental agreement that we had with the sheriff. So I question their legitimacy to the voters here in La Plata County. Yes, I am disturbed that I have to work with these people when they're not willing to listen to reason. And it seems like the lawyers run the county and not the county commissioners. Thank you.
I just want to address to what took place in the executive session. I don't know if the city attorney wants to talk up to that statement, because I think it's very unfortunate that Councillor Bosmans brought that up. Our city attorney made it extremely clear in our executive session that there are state statutes, state laws that allow the city attorney to provide legal advice in an executive session without a recording. And we all know, based on our past experience, the reasons why those laws are in place. And so the discussion that took place was around strategy and next steps for litigation. So it was absolutely legal advice, completely. And so it's really unfortunate that that would be brought up publicly to try to do what? I'm not sure. I question what your motives are very much in that. And also I wanted to support again the city in their efforts to bring this case forward. As Mayor Buell has suggested, this is a statewide issue that CML is addressing at the state level. We know that the state has many more resources than we do to fight this battle. We are low resource, high profile, and we don't have the ability to take on that battle as a small community down here in Southwest Colorado. So I hope that at the state level, this issue can be addressed long-term. I'm very disappointed in the relationship with the county. We have many more things to continue to work through as we move forward in addressing our own imminent needs now, including holding cells immediately and also operations at our 911 operations center, which are very important, and those need to be done. And the same issues for the 911 center apply as to that which has been taking place at the jail. So it's unfortunate what's going down for our entire community. It's unfortunate the relationship with the county and the city. It's probably, in my opinion, probably the worst I've seen it since my time on council. So that's not a great place to be in. And one more thing is I believe that your initial no vote, Councillor Bosmans, for going to this, for going to court was because you didn't have enough information. You missed a meeting or something. So to then go back and take credit as if you're taking credit for what I don't know. Definitely not being a part of the team, as Mayor Buell suggested. So I want to support city staff, our city attorney, in his efforts to do what he thought was right for the good of our community, for the health of our community, for the well-being and the quality of life of our residents. Thank you.
Yeah, so I have just Councilor Jessie also, I think.
I know I already acknowledged that, but I didn't. Mark was gonna.
I mean, you guys were free to finish your discussion first, so I can wait till the end, or I can say what I have to say now. It's up to you, Chair.
Why don't you wrap it up at the end?
Okay.
2 more minutes.
Okay, me first. All righty, there's one thing that I left out. There's one thing I left out to say was the fact that I stand behind our city manager and our attorney and the top staff here because they've given great information and guidance over my past almost 2 years here on council. What I really am upset about is the fact that we have one counselor who at every juncture tries to make it seem like the counselors here are creating ethic violations. And he mentions it in a public way where it gets out there in the public and they think we did something wrong because he has stated something, such as he did this evening that we turned off the recording. We do that at the executive session when we get strategy about legal advice from the attorney. It's standard. The reason why this one counselor doesn't understand that is because most of the time he doesn't show up for these meetings. So he doesn't know the proper procedures, how we've been dealing with this the past couple of years. We get great legal advice. We follow all the rules and regulations. And I'm really proud of the work that we do for the city of Durango, for the residents of Durango, and for the voters of Durango by following the legal procedures and not trying to slime the other counselors. Thank you.
So just to respond to that, various comments that have been made. I've been in presence of pretty much all meetings in the last 2 years. The first 2 years, I did not attend various meetings because of the hostility. I am in a vote in favor of the vast majority of issues that come to council. Some of the key topics in our community are the ones that I question about. And on the executive session, the recording was stopped at the recommendation of the city attorney for the legal advice and strategizing. What we fail to acknowledge here that a large part of the speaking was done by the city manager, the chief, and the assistant city manager. And I questioned the legality of that, and the vote was taken, and the city attorney explained that it was on his recommendation, which the majority voted in favor of. So I don't have a problem with that, but I do think that was a very interesting aspect for stopping the recording. I think we as a council should do a better job in serving our community, providing good direction, and making sure we don't have friction, this specific topic being one of them. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
I'm going to clarify one point. As you, this is a perfect example. You said the large majority of, please continue opening your mail while we're talking, because you clearly, well, I know, but it's super rude and disrespectful.
Say something nice, you think?
No, I don't think so, because you just lied again. You said a large majority of the executive session was taken over by our city manager, our assistant city manager, and our chief of police. That is a lie. They spoke for maybe, Jose Madrigal spoke for maybe 2 minutes. Bob Brammer spoke for maybe 3. He actually probably spoke for a little bit more with his context for law. And again, don't acknowledge what I'm saying, because you just spread lies and there's no consequences for your actions. That was a complete lie, what you just said. And every one of us sitting here on this dais can confirm it. Every one of us. And that was in that executive session. The chief, he probably spoke for 2 minutes. We were in there for almost an hour. So tell me, how is that a large majority of these other individuals saying it, talking? It's not, it's a lie. No, because I don't trust anything that comes out of your mouth. Everything you say is not the truth. And that is a perfect example. And anyone listening can ask anyone here on the dais or that was in that executive session how long those men spoke for. You are a liar, Councillor Bosmans. Can I have a vote? Oh.
So I find it procedurally curious and difficult because you called for any objections to anything that occurred during the executive session and Councillor Bosman sat silent. And that's what the minutes should reflect. It wasn't until a motion was made that the comments were made that something inappropriate was done during executive session. The executive session followed all legal requirements. We had a lengthy discussion about whether we would or would not turn off the tape. My recollection is that Councillor Bosman asked some questions. I provided answers to the best of my ability, and then he actually did not vote on whether we should turn off the tape or not. If you said no, that'll be on the recording. My recollection is that you did not vote at all. If you voted no, I apologize for my recollection being incorrect. There were 2 or 3 occasions where the discussion went off the topic we announced to the discussion. One person in the executive session brought up a topic that I deemed immediately was not appropriate because it was not something we adjourned to discuss. It was not discussed. One councillor brought it up, no one else commented. I didn't comment except to say that it was inappropriate, and that immediately stopped on 2 discussions, on 2 topics that were related but not specifically announced. I've seen some Monday morning quarterbacking for political gain before an election before, but this is the frosting on the cake, because I feel like this was intentionally done in the executive session so there wouldn't be a record, and then a false record could be put out tonight. I believe the executive session followed all legal protocols, and if we need to get affidavits about what happened when the tape was off, that would be your ability to do that if anything is challenged.
City Attorney and Mayor and Council, if I may. You know, there's a lot of things in which our employees deal with. Part of it does come with the job, but when you single out employees and allege that we did something illegal, that's a whole other level. And I do want to remind the council that while I am a contract employee, I'm still an employee. Bob Brammer is still an employee and Chief Current as an employee. And as employees, we have rights. And you cannot just go around defaming our character and insinuating lies that we did something that was unethical or even at worst illegal. It's disgusting that it's gotten to this level. And I apologize, Chief Brammer, or Chief Current and Assistant City Manager Bob Brammer, you have served this community well, and you did not deserve that. And I apologize.
I apologize too, and I think the majority of council knows the truth and supports you in everything you two do. Thank you. Can I get a vote?
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazdi.
Yes.
All right, next item is adjournment. All those in favor? Aye. Adjourned.